We are back from the break, and thank you for keeping it Smart Men's Business. And this time round, we're going to focus. We're going to put our eyes more on the youth with the just concluded Africa Youth Day celebrations, and we're going to be focusing on how the youth can engage in revenue collection in Uganda. Remember, with the URA celebrating 30 years of serving Ugandans together, it is high time every youth also takes part in the activity. According to the 2014 National Housing and Population Census, the youth form a large proportion of the population, with 23% in an age bracket of 19 to 30, while 55% of that between the age of 18 years. And if you look at the other percentage, which is 80% of the youth in Uganda live in the rural areas. And however, 65% of the youth in the age bracket of 20 to 24 in the urban setting are still unemployed. And most of them are actually, like, if you look at the statistics in Uganda, every year the country releases around 9,000 youth to compete for the available 40,000 jobs. Rather, we produce 40,000 youth to compete for the available 9,000 jobs, which is quite hard. And that is one of the reasons as to why you could see that most of the youth form the small and medium-sized enterprises that we are definitely seeing. And it's actually generating 45% to the Uganda's gross domestic product, which is currently harboring that informal sector of the jobs available, where the youth are most centered, is employing close to 4.5 million Ugandans. But the bigger question is, how can the Ugandans engage in revenue collections, mainly the young people, the youth? With me in studio to digest this conversation, I do have two ladies that we are going to be discussing more about this. And the person seated next to me is Martha. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
And if you can actually say hi to the viewers and talk about yourself in a brief of 1 minute.
Well, hello. Pleasure being in the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, I am an agriculturalist with a foundation, Kataike Farm Foundation, that I started, of course, when I tried looking for jobs here and there, and then I got a vision and decided, you know what, I will not go ahead to look for jobs when I'm a social worker, and I can integrate social work principles with agriculture.
And that is very started.
Yeah, and also social work roles with agriculture, because as a social worker, you're supposed to counsel a person, you're supposed to empower, you're supposed to refer. You can't do all that when you're not empowered yourself. So those are the things I considered when I was starting Kataike Farm Foundation, based in the rural sector in Butaleja, far east of Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on my extreme end, I do have another lady called Judith. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Judith Muvara is my name, and I like to call myself an academia world because I'm a student of law. But I also associate myself with the Tax Justice Club of Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah, to amplify voices of the youth regarding tax revenues.
And when you talk about taxes, we're talking revenue still. And from there, let's kickstart off with our conversation. Where do you think is the challenge with the youth engaging in revenue collection, Martha?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a youth, so I'm speaking in representation of the youth.
Okay.
We would love to be part of it, because when I was looking through the objectives of the domestic tax revenue, they are brilliant. If implemented to its dot, every single youth would be willing, because it would be manifested into service delivery. Would be saying the roads are okay, the hospitals are okay. So definitely as a youth, you would say, you know, I'm seeing where my money is going. In local, they said, take a cent in water.
Okay.
You would be seeing where the money is actually being invested.
Okay.
So the challenge comes in when you're seeing you're paying the value added tax. but you do not see. I'm speaking for my region.
Okay.
You do not see the roads fixed. You do not see the hospitals fixed. So you come in and say, the other tax, why should I pay them? If the VAT is not being utilized to its dot. You're seeing embezzlement coming in. You're seeing the people who embezzle are not held really accountable. If held accountable, still at the end of the day, they are left to come out of jail.
Okay.
They are not liquidifying their assets to bring back our money. So this is where youth says, now, what is the point? Why should I register for what won't benefit me?
Okay.
You know, because I'm left like, I'm left with all the bills. I'm left with buying the seeds. Even the promises they make are not coming to into existence.
Okay.
So this is where a youth says, you know what, why would I pay the tax? But there's still there's willingness. That's what there's willingness. I'm not saying to pay as long as you see where the money is being invested.
All right. Do you think the youth know of the available taxes? Do they know the number of taxes they're supposed to pay?
Actually, I wanted to supplement when you said what is the problem.
The bigger challenge.
The challenge, because that is the main challenge. The youth don't understand these taxes. I think the government has not done well to create awareness of tax. You can't just come out of the blue and you tell me VAT. What is VAT? How am I supposed to understand VAT? They do not create the awareness for us to understand the VAT. So that's why the challenge is people on the streets, they're selling their goods, young people, but before you know it, the KCCA guys come and start running on them, but they don't even understand what the tax does. They don't even understand how they're supposed to do it. So I think that's the main challenge. The people are willing, but they don't get to the details. You just tell them you're supposed to pay 12% tax on internet, but you don't justify why they should. So that's the main challenge with the youth. Yeah.
Okay. And when they say the youth, most of the young people out there venturing into business, by the way, lack information regarding the taxes they're supposed to pay. And in most cases, it's after when you're even done going into if you go into a supermarket and do a transaction, and at the end of the day, you will find a receipt having value-added tax, what have you, and you're like, how am I paying this? Well, it's important still. So I think that is another checkup on how the policies are being laid by the government. But if you're to look at that still, when you say the youth are willing to pay for the taxes, I'm looking at the businesses that are available. Look at if you're to look at the businesses the youth are doing, do you think they can generate these taxes?
Yes, they can, if the environment is favorable. Factors have to be constant.
Okay.
If the environment is favorable, for example, tax holidays.
Will they give it to the youth?
You know? So this, of course, that's why we are called to voice out this. We hope that is considered, because you can't milk a cow you're not taking to graze. You know, if you want taxes from the youth, if they're starting up a business on their own money, you have to give them a little bit of a holiday.
Okay.
And then subsidize on electricity bills. Things like garbage collection, don't leave them to us. For instance, I'm doing a baby store where I'm still paying taxes. You are paying power, you are paying garbage collection, still you're paying VAT that is supposed to actually do the garbage collection. So where is the money? I need to have that confidence. Where is the money going? So true, we will be able, the youth will be able, but those factors have to be considered. Before you get a baby to grow up and buy you stuff, or get married and bring stuff home, what you have to do is make sure you nurture them, you take them to school, you vaccinate, all those things before the baby is grown enough to take care of you at your old age. That is the same thing that should be considered while dealing with the youth. Nurture us to our feet until we are at the point where we are sustainable enough to be able to put into the system Because this is our country. It's a collective effort that we see it grow and it benefits us. But how?
Okay, and that brings me to a situation where I'm bringing in Judith now, in terms of the academics and the education setting in Uganda. Statistics have it that we have availability of around 9,000 jobs. And the 9,000 jobs are the jobs that over 400,000 and more of the youth are supposed to compete for every year. Do you think there is a challenge with our academic setting or with our sector, education, that is creating this gap? Because now we have more job seekers than the ones that are going to create these jobs.
It's a very interesting question. We are switching to the academic sector now.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yes.
Why I think there's a challenge in the academic setting is because they do not teach. Okay, they do not instill these good ideas in students. We are just taught to cram these things and tendency.
The theoretical part.
Well, the theoretical part, but the practical bit outside the academia after you're done. That's why many youth switch to the informal sector, because they're doing businesses there that can maybe enhance their livelihoods. Now, in that informal sector, I think that's why I asked if you think that we can generate revenue from that informal sector, because they're doing small businesses that they think can enhance their livelihood, but government wants to come and generate revenue now. The issue is if government maybe talks to these people nicely, not just chasing them or just instilling things in them. They talk to them, they educate them actually. They create awareness. They tell them, now that for you, you're operating a boutique, I think the best way we can work together so that we all win is you can give us, they are already paying taxes, the VAT. Like you said, in hotels, in drinks, in supermarket, you're buying sugar. You're buying sugar, you're buying water, you're buying data. So all this time you're paying taxes. But when you engage these people to understand the importance, why you need to generate revenue, maybe we will create a health sector that is more vibrant. We'll do an education sector. All these sectors will be enhanced after you give us some money.
Okay.
So I think after that, after explaining to educating the youth, they can actually generate money from the informal sector. Right. Meanwhile, please note that the informal sector now has 52%. So you can imagine the whole in Uganda. Okay. Yeah. So if you intend to generate revenue from that 52%, why would you then go for debts even in the other countries? These people can raise a lot of revenue to enhance your expenditures, your Ugandan expenditures, and you don't need to go for the donors and all.
Right. Quite an interesting argument there. Mother,
I wish to add something, yeah,
okay.
and just put something there for me. Now, I wish to add on your discussion. So, if we are seeing that there is a missing, there's a link, there is a gap between the employment
and the informal and formal sector.
Yes, and also the employment and the available jobs. Okay. You know, we are seeing the youth trying in the informal sector. If they are trying to create jobs, because if I'm in agriculture sector, I am with 10 women. So if we see that they are trying, why don't we hold them to their feet? Why don't we? Such that they are able to take on some of those, that are on the market unemployed. Because if someone has because not everybody was born or is created to be an employer. We must agree to disagree. Not everybody has the guts to say, I am going to have an idea and put it on the ground and deal with the challenges of being a boss, resource issues, taxes, this and that. Not everybody. So the few who have decided to take on that should be supported so they can integrate their fellow youth into the system of being employed. Because once this comes down, like if a woman, let me go to the side of woman, if a woman is unemployed, she has babies, her husband is unemployed, you can imagine the kind of citizens that bring. Of course, they can't provide, they are broken emotionally, financially. You can imagine the kind of generation we are going to have. You can imagine. So that's why we need to support the informal sector to become formal and expand both in capacity and quality. I don't know if that is...
The informal sector has been growing in the last 2 years greatly. I remember back in the time, even at this particular time, when you go to class, you will see that the informal sector jobs are available in Uganda. Are those the teachers or the lecturers will refer to as a student who has not made it in life? Someone tells you now, if you fail to pass my paper, you're going to become a so-and-so in life. But then with the last 2 years, you could even see that most of the teachers have actually been engaging in these activities to stay afloat in the business world, which shows you the growth there. But the bigger question is, we're into a conversation discussing on how we can enhance revenue collection and mobilization amongst the youth. I'm Joran Paul Sonko, and we are continuously going in with the conversation. I have Martha in studio and Judith. We're digesting this matter, and we're trying to break it down in the simplest way possible. Let me get back to Judith. Where can the youth actually, how can the youth participate? Let's now go deep into that. How can the youth participate?
Thank you for that question. Now, the youth can only participate when they are engaged.
Okay.
In the government, the civil society. I think it's at that point that I would like to extend my gratitude to SEATINI Uganda, because they have been fronting the youth all over in all programs, fronting the youth in all aspects. So if you engage these people, these young people, then one by one they will know and understand these complex issues. You know, they always refer to tax issues as very complex. But if you engage them as government, as a civil society, then they will understand the need to actually push for mobilization, because they are very resourceful, huge population. They are energetic, they are very resourceful. So if you engage them, maybe they can even help you push that agenda and you achieve your strategy. Yes.
So what can we do, Martha, to enhance this? Because I'm looking at, okay, the youth are willing to pay, but there's always something that is supposed to push them to pay for these taxes.
Yeah.
And how is it going to be possible for them to engage in the revenue collection? And because they're making up the largest percentage in the working sector currently.
Sure. It should, service delivery should talk.
Okay.
It's just simple. Yeah. Service delivery should talk.
So that means, is it with the government this time around, or URA in general?
URA still, but the government, because it's a whole body. For you to deliver service, there are different bodies that come together. It's not one thing, one body. It has to be the implementers, the legislators, they all have to come together. Because when you look, I want to emphasize this, the policies are good. If you go and read what is on paper, it's good. Now when it comes down to the implementers, that gap in between there, you find that what is on paper is different, what is on ground is totally a different story. So we are asking ourselves, what is the matter? If you're showing me something as good as this, what is wrong with you doing what is on the paper, on the ground? So that is where the problem is. The youth are more than willing, because wait, if the hospital is okay, you don't have to pay hospital bills, why wouldn't you pay tax for that? It's a good cause. Now, if the roads are okay, me who's working on tomatoes, I'm transporting my tomatoes from Taleja to Mbali, and they reach safe, and I'm enjoying these resources that are coming out of my tax, tell me why. Like, why wouldn't you be paying? But then, for the last 30 years, my grandfather is now 95. The road has been the same, generations to come that came. Why am I motivated
to pay this
to
tax?
pay this tax? I would pay because I do not have any choice. It's a policy. But then the motivation is not there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And still, you did talk about the generation situation. I feel it is a reality check, by the way, because even when you go to the village, personally got the chance to go to my village maybe 1 month back, and I realized some things never change.
Yeah.
And you wonder, you are paying these taxes, and for close to 10 to 20 years you are paying them, but nothing is changing. And you're asking yourself, where does the money go to? I think that is the bigger challenge that needs to be addressed, where the government has to clearly address that matter. And away from that, I want to look at, say, you say the policies are fair, quite okay.
Yeah, on paper. On paper. Yes.
Not
on
in the
paper.
implementation.
Yes, on paper.
Okay. All right. The National Youth Council Act Cap 319 established the youth council structures from village to national level to provide channels through which youth engage in developmental processes. Judith, do we have any? Are you under any youth organization?
I associate myself with quite
many.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen any engagement among these groups in regards to national matters? Because this is where I want to ask my question. Do you think these youth engage in the national matters?
If given a chance, they are more willing to engage. But I think I don't want to go in that aspect of bringing out a point of people do not engage the youth.
Okay.
You find 80-old person with their colleagues, their friends, 80, 70, still discussing matters to do with the future. Yet the future is the youth.
They're already in the future.
They're already in their future,
Yes.
but they're discussing the issues to do with the youth. And yet the youth are supposed to be engaged on those very particular issues to plan for their future.
Okay.
So I think the government and very many stakeholders have not involved enough the youth. They keep it to themselves. You find very many people, very old guys, discussing this complex issue as they state, and they don't engage, they don't educate and introduce these taxes to people. So there's no way a person from home district, I don't want to mention regions and all, from down deep will understand how taxes are actually needed for the country. And yet you stakeholders, that's why you find these stakeholders go for donations, they go and get debts outside the world to facilitate our expenditures here in Uganda. Yet while you can educate these people and they see the need to pay their taxes, maybe you can enhance their lifestyles in a way or two.
You learned something,
Yeah,
okay?
I always tell a story of a kidnapper who wants to kidnap a child.
Okay.
If the kidnapper knows that I have to buy sweets for 2 weeks for this kid to be my friend, such that it's easier for me to kidnap them, the bodies in charge of taxes should know that they have to make the youth their friends. They have, because when they are old, these are the people going to take care of them when they're retired. So we need to have a friendship, a little friendship, and we have to have it in mind that we are all Ugandans. We have the same goal towards the development, financial empowerment, and sustainability of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And pretty much an interesting conversation. The table Judith was trying to shake had some expensive drinks. She was bringing a point home. That it is quite interesting when you find old folks discussing of the future, and yet the future is now, and we are the future. You wonder whether they will leave the test of 40 years to actually see the future. Because when you're planning for something, please plan with the people who will be there.
Yeah.
You can't be 90 and plan for 50 years. Yet there is a child who's 20 years or 15 years who may live up to the test of that time. Away from that, as we are summing up our discussion, your last assessment, Judith, in maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, maybe to emphasize the point that Uganda or URA as the body that collects taxes, they need to tap in the income, the youth income, to get the revenues. Recently, that's why they actually introduced the Domestic Revenue Mobilization strategy that intends to strengthen the capacity of Ugandans to collect revenue. But they have not created the awareness. They have not introduced those taxes to people. They have not educated enough. Maybe they will do that, or maybe I call upon them to do that, so that they can the youth can understand why they need to pay taxes. Am I going to find health sectors very working? Recently, we're having schools, UPE and USE operating, but they're supposed to be operating for free. But are they even for free right now? If you pay your taxes, be sure that at least you're going to find services. That's why my sister was saying here, at least be sure that the service provision is adequate. And then there's also an aspect of Uganda providing tax incentives to investors that are coming into Uganda. And they leave out our investors. Yeah. We have very many investors in Uganda, but they're not given tax incentives. 10 years, but for investors, the foreign investors, yet our domestic investors are not given the tax incentives. So I think they should also look into that. They should provide, they should entice our investors to do the same so they can pay their taxes.
Okay. And Martha, your last assessment as we're winding up?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Well, we are the future.
Okay.
We will be making the policies, or how do they call them? Reassessing the policies that are being made right now. Tables turn. We live in I am a humanitarian entrepreneur, so I speak more at times as an entrepreneur and also as a humanitarian. Seasons come and go. For this season, when you're in authority and you can do something good for the youth, please do it. Because tables are going to turn when they will be in charge, and you will need an orthopedic surgeon cheaply because your bones are not okay, and they will be there. So you need to look at these policies as you're making them, as in power, as you're implementing them. Will you need the same facilities when you're out of power? Because right now when people are in power, they can fly to different countries for these services. But 10 years to come, will they allow you in America to see a surgeon? Will they allow you? So make these hospitals okay, because we are paying the taxes. Yeah. Empower us so we are able to pay taxes that can run these systems that you will find when you're out of power. That's it for me.
Excuse me, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
I think I was forgetting a very good aspect that the government is introducing. The government is an effort to generate more revenue. The government is introducing a digital online marketplace where multinational or online transactions, they can pay taxes. For example, the Facebook, because the youth are engaged in online transactions every other day, they're marketing, they're advertising, but these multinational companies are not taxed in Uganda. But our tax design, how it is designed, we cannot tax a person who is non-existent in our country. So I think it's supposed to tap into that so that it can, because there are very many, billions and billions of youth, billions of money are online advertising and marketing, but we cannot, we have failed. URA has not tapped into that. So I think it is, it's a very good initiative, and it should be looked really into by the government.
Okay. And Hugh thing. The government may be complaining why the youth are not engaging more in these taxes, but I think it is the limited access to the information and the limited involvement they normally get. And if they can check on that, you are a government, it will be better for the future of Uganda. We can secure our future in that way. In fact, put it right. I'm Joel Sonko, I'm Smart 24 TV, and tell you what, we run business stories. follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Smart24TV. The website is www.smart24tv.com. And you can officially follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jerome Post as well. For now, it's ciao, adios.